morning. We're going to get started. We're running a little late. We have a quorum. I'd ask all guests and visitors to please retire behind the rail as the members take their seat. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognized the Reverend Hynicka, senior pastor of the Arch Street United Methodist Church. He is here today as the guest of Councilwoman Gim. I would ask all members, guests, and visitors to please rise.
Council President Clark, Councilwoman Gim, and all council persons represented here today, and citizens, it's indeed an honor to stand before you. Let us pray. Holy One of awesome accountability, whose image we each hold in our hearts, souls, and minds, move us to remember that we occupy a sacred space that belongs to our siblings, the Lenape. We honor their physical and spiritual presence and ask to be held accountable for how we still exploit the land and oppress our siblings. Hold us accountable. Move us into just and right ways of being and building together. Infuse integrity into our development of this sacred space we call Philadelphia. So many promises have been broken. Make us honor the will of the people, not the whims of the powerful. Holy One of radical resistance, open our eyes and ears to witness the prophetic imagination of the immigrants among us as they proclaim a vision for Philadelphia that is truly a sanctuary city. Help us expand sanctuary so our city becomes a sanctuary that works for all human beings and global citizens. This is a vision that has no racial profiling, no stop and frisk, no live stop and vehicle confiscation, no raids of homes, no detention or deportation without due process. Open our eyes and ears and move us to resist the normalization of politics, policies, and laws that reflect xenophobia, fear, and hate. Holy One of racial reconciliation, instruct us and cause us to dismantle racism by confronting white privilege, denouncing white supremacy, and by centering black and brown voices and honoring and protecting black and brown bodies. Prevent us from buying into the myth of an American dream that by design exists for some but not for others. Remind us that the system of cash bail is a product of a willful web of insidious intention. Cash bail is a system that has catastrophic consequences on families, children, and far too many persons of color. Give us a skill set and a will redeemed by true justice to test our intentions against the impact they create. And finally, Holy One of Jubilee justice, remind us of our highest calling as faith leaders, elected officials, and citizens of the world, that it is our sacred responsibility to provide, promote, and protect the human rights of all. And those human rights include unfettered access to quality education, universal health care, affordable, safe homes and neighborhoods, a clean environment, a sustainable wage and dignity in labor, and access to art, culture, and leisure. Elevate us, enlighten us, empower us to be truly human in this sacred space and time. And as we create legislation, may the laws we pass and the lives we live always be held against the universal moral mandate, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. May it be so. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Master. Council will be at ease. Thank you very much. The next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, September 14, 2017, and the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of Thursday, September 14, 2017 be approved.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably seconded that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, September 14, 2017 stand approved. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the journal is approved. The next order of business is a request for leaves of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, a leave of absence is requested for Councilman Dom.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair now recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Republicans, there are no requests for leave of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman. At this time, I would like to dispense with the regular order of business, and I would like to thank and welcome everyone who has come down today to witness your government in action. We hope your stay here today is a knowledgeable one, but more importantly, a pleasurable one, so much so that you come back again. So again, thank you for being here today. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell, who will present a citation recognizing Ms. Bernice Dapaah, founder and CEO of the Ghana Bamboo Bikes Initiative. With Ms. Dapaah and those accompanying her, please join the Councilwoman at the podium. And joining Councilwoman Blackwell, we have Councilwoman Parker, Councilwoman Gim, Councilman Jones, and Councilman O.
Mr. President, we would also like to ask Patricia Harris and Bruce Crawley to make sure they are both here and come forward, because this is their project. We've been involved in it from the beginning, but it was after their creation and their commitment to helping in this area. Many of you may not know, but that bike that we brought in to show you in front of us is made of bamboo. That's the bamboo bike that they are talking about, and that they are trying to help people in Ghana and students and people going to work to get for free as they try to go about their lives in their school and their businesses. So we are very, very proud to call them friends and to commit them, to commend them for the wonderful work that they do, and certainly to acknowledge their affair tonight to continue to try to raise money for those in need overseas. City Council, City of Philadelphia citation honoring and recognizing Bernice Dapaah. The Council of the City of Philadelphia is pleased and proud to honor and recognize Bernice Dapaah of Ghana Bamboo Bikes Initiative for her contributions to the economic and social advancement of the Ghanaian people, and
just a brief point of privilege. It was so wonderful to listen to Bernice speak on a women's forum to talk about how women need to come together and really stand tall together, and thank you so much for that. Yeah, well, I've got a long way to go, but you know, but Bruce and Patricia did a wonderful job with that. Whereas Bernice Dapaah is the founder and CEO of the Ghana Bamboo Bikes Initiative in Kumasi, Ghana, which manufactures the iconic Eco-Ride bamboo bicycle, featured right here. Under her leadership, the initiative has developed from a project idea to an award-winning social enterprise that has won several international awards. And
whereas access to bicycles is so impactful to the lives of many in Ghana. According to the Ghanaian Statistical Service, 30% of Ghanaians do not have a school within their immediate community, and almost 30% of rural women and 30% of male children were not attending school. UNESCO reports that the school attendance of young, rural Ghanaian girls increases by 600%. Repeat. UNESCO reports that the school attendance of young, rural Ghanaian girls increases by 600% when provided access to bicycles. Very well. The gift of mobility affects residents' ability to access education, of course, clear water, clean water, health care, and marketplaces to buy and sell their goods. With support from the Philadelphia-based African Bicycle Contribution Foundation, these Ghanaian-made bicycles have been distributed at no cost to transport dependent students, teachers, small farmers, and healthcare workers throughout Ghana's rural areas. In addition to the many benefits seen by those who receive the bicycles, the factory in Kumasi, Ghana provides steady employment for local residents. And
whereas Bernice Dapaah holds a diploma in Human Resource Management and Marketing from the Institute of Commercial Management, UK, and a bachelor's degree in Business Administration from the Christian Service University College in Kumasi, she is an alumna of Harvard University's Executive Education Program and has more than a decade of work experience for both the for-profit and nonprofit industries. Ms. Dapaah is a member of the World Economic Forum's Global Agenda Council on Biodiversity and Natural Capital, made up of the world's foremost intellectual network, convening the most relevant and knowledgeable thought leaders from business, government, academia, and civil society to address key global issues. And
whereas Ms. Dapaah named as an ambassador to the World's Bamboo Organization, having also been appointed as a member of the prestigious Global Teacher Prize Academy. In addition, she has been honored with the World Entrepreneur Forum's Entrepreneur for the World Award for her impact on society and capacity to change the world. And
therefore, by virtue of this citation, the Council of the City of Philadelphia does hereby honor and recognize Bernice Dapaah for her contributions to the economic and social advancement to the people of Ghana. We commend her for her innovative and socially conscious approach to a societal challenge and extend to her the sincere respect and admiration of this legislative body.
And the chair recognizes Ms. Dapaah for remarks.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so honored and very pleased to be here this morning. I can't imagine, I'm so excited, and I'm so happy about the communication that we had with our partner African Bicycle Contribution. I never imagined I could get such opportunity to be here this morning. And I'm very pleased for this citation. I'm actually going to see how best, we're going to do our best in Ghana to employ a lot of youth to manufacture bamboo bicycle in Ghana, to also export it in the city of Philadelphia. I am very grateful. And I could see my team in Ghana, they are so happy about the relationship we are having here in the city of Philadelphia. I have been communicating with them for the past days, and I can't imagine, they are so enthused. And I'm so glad African Bicycle Contribution is also supporting us, donating bicycles for kids in Ghana, health workers, teachers, that they work months before they can go to school. I was so pleased, very emotional, when I had a call from one girl, Bernice, do you think this bicycle donated to me yesterday is for me forever? And I said, that is yours forever. And she told me, I'm going to take opportunity to go to school very early, and I'm going to make sure I'll become one of the first students in my class. Thank you so much for being here with me, supporting me. I'm very glad. Thank you so much.
And the chair recognizes Bruce Crawley.
Thank you, President Clark, members of council, all assembled, and especially the council people who have played such a huge role in making sure this all happened. I'd have to start with Councilwoman Jannie Blackwell, who, in addition to being the district council person in the 3rd, is also a person who chairs the Mayor's Commission on African and Caribbean immigrant affairs, and working with her staff and others, Stan Straughter and others who have been members, long-standing members of that group. They have been with us every step of the way. We wouldn't be here without Councilwoman Blackwell and that commission. So please, please recognize that. Beyond that, there are certain council people here who have really done an extraordinary job, and I'm sitting here looking at one who is sitting here in front of me, Councilman Kenyatta Johnson. All of them who have been helpful are not here on the stage. Councilman Green, who's a member of our leadership committee. Some of the leadership committee members are here. And so this has been a citywide effort. And some people might wonder, why Africa? Africa, because there is such a great need. We looked at bicycles and we found, as has been stated, that there was a critical need for young people and for farmers. Although Ghana is a wonderful emerging economy with oil, with cocoa beans, with soybeans, with gold, with all kinds of industrial strength, growing industrial strength, Ghana is also still a country where 51% of the population is involved in agriculture. And so we've got farmers who live on, who grow small plots, but they've got to then get that produce into the marketplace. And if you have to carry it and you don't have motorized vehicles, by the time you get in, you've lost a lot of money. You don't have efficiency. So farmers, small farmers, teachers, and students. Quickly, we always tell the story about the young lady who was asked off camera how long it takes her to get to school, and she says, I can get to school in 2 hours if I run. We don't have that mindset here, and we ought to have it. And so one of the things we're trying to do beyond the bikes is to have an exchange between students here, both secondary school students and higher education students, and students over there. There is a great propensity for people to do entrepreneurship in Africa, greater than the propensity here. So we need to have an exchange. We're going to do that. And then finally, we are pressing, and Councilwoman Blackwell knows it, and the members of our committee know, that we're pressing to do an enhanced trade agreement with Ghana. Right now, Philadelphia does $111 million a year in trade with Ghana. We need to do more. Everybody is moving to Africa for economic advantage. Don't say China, because they're all over. We are left at the gate if we don't begin to do business with the people who are the source of most of the wealth in the world today. And so we think that starting with Bernice Dapaah's program, this is going to be a jump-off point for better economic and educational relationships between us here and them here. So thank you all very much for this, and I'm sure Bernice Dapaah really does appreciate all that the city of Philadelphia has done for her. Thank you.
I neglected to mention the Honorable Stan Straughter, Honorary Consul to Guinea, and past President of the Mayor's Commission of African and Caribbean Immigrant Affairs and Echoes of Africa, because he is at the Congressional Black Caucus speaking on African affairs this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Bernice. Thank you very much. The next order of business is communications, and the chair requests that the Sergeant of Arms delivers the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. Mr. Decker, hold on 1 second, please. After? Okay. Please. Mr. Decker, please read those messages from the mayor.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, I am pleased to advise you that on September 14, 2017, I signed the following bill, which was passed by Council at its session earlier on the same date, Bill number 170623. And I am submitting herewith for the consideration of your honorable body an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of the Department of Public Property to acquire a trestle over Germantown Avenue, just below Gresham Valley Drive, and enter into an agreement to license from Pico Energy Company a certain strip of land running parallel to a portion of Gresham Creek. And an ordinance amending Chapter 193200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Keystone Opportunity Zone, Economic Development District, and Strategic Development Area to provide for additional extensions of certain benefits, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. You have any additional messages?
I have none, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The next order of business, Councilman, you want to be recognized now?
Sure.
Yeah. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge some of my guests who are here standing with me today. First and foremost, in honor of National Day of Remembrance Day for murder victims, I'm going to ask them to stand as Dorothy Johnson Spite, who is also joined by Movita Harrell of the Charles Foundation, Dorothy Johnson Spite from Others in Charge, Michael Coxdale from Ceasefire, and other advocates who are here. Can they please stand? And also I'm being honored by Marjorie Morris from the Mayor's Office of Adult Literacy, as well as Wanda Stewart. Wanda Stewart is the subject of an honorary resolution I'm going to introduce today. Ms. Stewart has a truly inspirational story, achieving literacy at age 46, and just a year later publishing her own acclaimed children's book, The Little Chicken Named Pong Pong. And I'm going to ask for her to stand and thank her for her hard work and her dedication in achieving her accomplishments in literacy. A portion of her book was also read by the actor Idris Elba as a part of international literacy campaign. And so we all recognize that to truly rise out of poverty, to really truly achieve your goals, dreams, and aspirations, education plays a critical part. And it starts with reading. Thank all of you for being here today.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you all for your continued service. Next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Good morning, Mr. President. I offer 3 resolutions, 2 on your behalf, and I want to say thank you to Council Members Parker, Gim, Heenan, Blackwell, Squillo, Tautenberger, O'Neill, Bass, Green, Johnson, and Jones for the co-sponsorship of one or all 3 resolutions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution authorizing Philadelphia City Council Special Committee on Student Loan Debt to investigate the impact of student debt on achieving first-time home ownership in the City of Philadelphia.
This week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution appointing Tina Biles Williams to the Board of Directors of the Center City District.
And that will actually be referred to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution appointing Maureen Anastasi to the Board of Directors of the Center City District.
And that will also be referred to committee. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I introduce one bill.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
An ordinance amending Chapter 193200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Keystone Opportunity Zone, Economic Development District, and Strategic Development Area to provide for additional extensions of certain benefits under certain terms and conditions.
And that will be referred to committee. And the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I offer one bill and I offer one resolution, which is co-sponsored by many members of City Council.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land within an area bounded by Front Street, Oxford Street, American Street, Master Street, 6th Street, and Girard Avenue.
That will be referred to committee.
And a privileged resolution declaring October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
That'll be on today's final passage calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two resolutions, one of which is of grave concern to Councilman Green.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privileged resolution recognizing and honoring Rhonda Willingham, President and founder of Men's Fit, for aiding in the employment of thousands of men across the city and for hosting the annual Philadelphia City Council Who Wore It Best fashion show.
This week's calendar.
And a privileged resolution recognizing and honoring the Philadelphia Folk Song Society on their 60th anniversary of preserving the expression of folk music and for their recent move to the Roxborough community.
This week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I have three privileged resolutions, two co-sponsored by Councilman Curtis Jones.
Thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome.
A privileged resolution honoring and recognizing Wanda Stewart for overcoming extreme poverty to achieve literacy at age 46 and only a year later become a published author.
This week's calendar.
And a privileged resolution recognizing Monday, September 25, 2017, the National Day of Remembrance for Murder Victims in Philadelphia.
This week's calendar.
And a privileged resolution recognizing gun violence as a public health epidemic in Philadelphia.
This week's count. And Chair recognizes Councilwoman Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. No bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. Before I introduce today's legislation, I would like to introduce some of our future judges, prosecutors, public defenders, and outstanding lawyers from that outstanding university on North Broad Street, Temple University School of Law. If the second and third year law students could please rise. As an alumnus of the Temple Law School, it's always great to see future barristers have an opportunity to come and see us in action. In that regard, Council President, I have 8 bills introducing today on behalf of the Special Committee, and on your behalf, these bills are co-sponsored by Council Members Heenan, Kiona Sanchez, Taubenberger, and Johnson.
Thank you, Councilman.
One privileged resolution as well.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 6300 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Food by repealing Section 6305 relating to milk, milk products, and milk derivatives, and an ordinance amending Chapter 6200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Preventative Medicine by repealing Section 6207 relating to premarital examinations, and an ordinance repealing Chapter 1800 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Use of Electronic Scanners for Customer Checkout, and an ordinance amending Chapter 10700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Refuse and Littering by repealing Section 10712 relating to dropping litter from an aircraft, and an ordinance amending Chapter 9600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Services and Other Businesses by repealing Section 9621 relating to the sale of telephone-activated pagers, And an ordinance amending Chapter 6400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Miscellaneous Standards and Requirements by repealing Section 6401, Subparagraph 2, Subparagraph B, relating to radiation. And an ordinance amending Chapter 9700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Amusement Businesses by repealing Section 9705, relating to public baths. And an ordinance repealing Chapter 1400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Tailgating and related activities in the outdoor parking lots at the Philadelphia Sports Complex, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you. Those 8 bills will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And a privilege resolution recognizing Philadelphia Infant, Toddler, Early Intervention, and ChildLink Day in the city of Philadelphia and celebrating the 25th anniversary of ChildLink.
And that will be on this week's final passage calendar. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gimm.
Thank you, Council President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Toppenberger.
Thank you, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I have no bills or resolutions today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 2 bills today.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance authorizing Mark Mellini to install, own, and maintain various pedestrian enhancement encroachments at 701 through 39 Market Street.
Referred to committee.
And an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Trenton Avenue, Lehigh Avenue, Belgrade Street, Somerset Street, Delaware Expressway, Cumberland Street, Thompson Street, Aramingo Avenue, and York Street.
Referred to committee. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer no bills or resolutions this week.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you, Council President. I'll offer 1 bill, and may I be heard on that bill briefly after the title's read?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 2400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Towing and Immobilizing of Parked or Abandoned Vehicles, and Chapter 2800 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Administrative Adjudication of Parking Violations, by adding provisions for the payment of fees and charges for and the recovery of vehicles from areas marked by temporary no parking signs in spaces which otherwise permit on-street parking.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I just want to explain, this is kind of a rare thing that happens. You're parked a block from your home, for example, and you go on a business trip or you go on vacation, you're away for a few days. Unbeknownst to you, your neighbor has gone to your local police department and put up a temporary no parking sign so they could load, for example, they're moving some furniture in. And so unbeknownst to you, your car is towed. When you get back 2 or 3 days later, you find out that it's impounded by PPA, you go down there, you have to pay the full fee, the towing, everything, maybe $400 plus fees. If you do that, you waive your right to an expedited hearing. If you get your car back, you pay your fees, you cannot have an expedited hearing. Most people need their vehicles. And so 4 weeks later or 5 weeks later, you get a hearing and you prove that you were away, you weren't in a position to move your vehicle, you didn't know about it. And so they approve you for a refund, which takes between 4-6 weeks or longer. So typically, a person would be out of their money for 2.5 months. And for a lot of folks, $400+ that is out of their pocket is important money. So this bill simply says we're going to now define temporary towing spots, and when you go there and pay your money, you get an expedited hearing no later than 1 day after the release of the vehicle, excluding like Sunday or the weekend. And that's really why I've introduced the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. That bill will be referred to the appropriate committee. That concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions. And the next order of business is reports from committee. And the chair recognizes Councilman Jones for a report the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Commerce and Economic Development reports 1 bill with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read that report.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development, to which is referred Bill Number 161106, entitled An Ordinance, amending Chapter 17-1600 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Economic Opportunity Plans, by further providing with respect to Section 17-1603, entitled Economic Opportunity Plans, Contents, including but not limited to changes in the criteria which require a project or contract oversight committee, all under certain terms and conditions. Respectfully reports it has considered and amended the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. The chair again recognizes Councilman Jones. For motion. Do the motion. Do we already do the?
Make a motion to
Yeah.
approve or accept? What am I doing?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to, I make a motion to suspend the rules so that we could hear this bill at our next
Thank you, sir.
scheduled meeting of council. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 161, 106. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and this bill will be placed on our first reading calendar today. The next order of business is consideration of the calendar. I note that the bill just reported from the committee with the suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had its first reading. This bill will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session. Mr. Decker will please read any other bills on the first reading calendar.
Bill number 170675, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Woodbine Avenue, Upland Way, 59th Street, Lancaster Avenue, and 62nd Street.
The chair agrees. This bill will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. Chair now recognizes Councilman Heenan for a motion concerning the resolutions on the final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider, and the permit of this consent agenda to consider the following resolutions of bills of final passage calendars today. Bill numbers, resolution numbers 170730, 170731, 170732, 170733, 170734, 170736, 170737, 170738, 170739, 170744, 170745, 170746, 170750, 170758, 170761, 170762, 170763, 170-767, and 170-768.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the resolutions just read by Councilman Heenan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries, and we will consider the resolution consent agenda shortly. Chair now again recognizes Councilman Heenan for the purposes of calling up bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. In addition to the resolutions being considered on the consent agenda, the following resolutions of bills are being called up for second reading and final passage calendars today. Bill numbers 170595-A. All other bills and resolutions are being held.
Thank you, Councilman. Before considering our bills and resolutions on the final passage calendar today, we will have our public comment session. It will go as follows. If you are interested in testifying on a bill or resolution on the final passage today, I'd ask that you sign up at the table to my left. If you haven't already done so, when your name is called, you will go to the podium in the middle of the council chambers. There's a device on that podium. When the light turns green, it will be your time to speak. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. When the light turns red, we'd ask that you please adhere to the guidelines and respectfully conclude your remarks. Mr. Decker, please read the first name on the list.
Dorothy Johnson Spate.
Good
morning.
Council President
Morning.
and members of council, City Council. My name is Dorothy Johnson Spite, and I'm founder and executive director of Mothers in Charge. We are approving the resolution that's being introduced as a homicide as a public health epidemic today. We are honored to be here for this very important resolution. Homicide is the leading cause of death among African American males, and standing with me are mothers and grandmothers and aunts and sisters who've lost children to homicide. Also representing is Charles Foundation's Mamita Yancey here as well with Mothers in Charge. Homicide is a public epidemic. It's the leading cause of death among African American males, 14 to 34. It has to be treated as a public health epidemic in the city of Philadelphia and across this country. Since 2015, Mothers in Charge has been circulating petitions that says homicide in America as a public health crisis by implementing legislative reforms to reduce the number of homicides and violent incidents across this nation. Mothers in Charge is a national organization now, and the work that we're doing is to have this country recognize homicide as a public health epidemic, which is what it is. It needs to be treated as such. There are people that are losing their lives every single day, and we've got to find a way to stop the spread of it. So we believe that introducing it as a public health epidemic, that will get the message to everybody that needs to understand that it is the leading cause of death among African American males and men of color across this nation. And we can't just sit by and stand by and do nothing. So I'm very grateful and honored today, especially to Councilman Kenyatta Johnson for introducing this resolution. You too know the pain of losing loved ones to violence, and it's something that you never get over, but we need everyone to be on board to make a difference with this issue. Only then will we see a change in the city of Philadelphia as well as this country. So I thank you for this today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Also wanted to mention and recognize the National Day of Remembrance. September 25th in 2007, Congress implemented this day, September 25th, as a National Day of Remembrance for murder victims across this country. So we will be celebrating the lives of the ones that we've lost on Monday, September 25th, by having a national podcast. There's a number, and we passed around some flyers like this, that we'd like folks to call in and give comments on that day, National Day of Remembrance for murder victims. There's a number to call in between 12 and 2 and express your concern and your interest on this very important topic and issue. We also are passing out these petitions, still getting signatures that we're going to eventually take to Congress to say homicide is a public health crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony.
Michael Cogbill.
Morning.
Good morning. Councilman Johnson, Council President, Cindy, good morning. On behalf of Ceasefire Pennsylvania and our Executive Director, Sherry Goodman, I would like to thank Councilman Johnson and Dorothy Johnson-Spite for initiating such a vital resolution to recognize gun violence homicide as a public health epidemic. In 1996, Congressman Jay Dickey sponsored legislation that would restrict federal spending on gun violence research. This 20-year ban is widely known as the Dickey Amendment and has prevented the CDC from conducting any comprehensive studies pertaining to gun violence deaths. At this very moment, there are still attacks on what little bit of funding is allocated towards gun violence reduction efforts. An epidemic happens to be a widespread occurrence of an infectious disease in a community at a particular time. Councilman Jones said that this morning. Our intern, Emily Jacobson, who happens to be a fourth-year medical student at Jefferson, reiterated that while more than 33,000 Americans die annually to gun violence, right here in the Commonwealth, African Americans make up 12% of the population, but compromise for 69% of victims that are murdered by firearm, affirming that these disproportionate statistics are in need of epidemiological attention. We must also observe the non-fatal injuries that bound individuals to wheelchairs and cause life-changing spinal and neurological effects. Ceasefire Pennsylvania fully supports this resolution, and we look forward to assisting community partners, residents, stakeholders, in any forthcoming effort to reduce gun violence in our city. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
Emma Kornelski, commenting on 170735.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is Emma Kornetsky, and I'm the Manager of Government Affairs for Philabundance. We're the largest regional anti-hunger organization. I'm here today. I want to thank Councilwoman Blackwell for introducing Resolution 170735. It's really important that I think Philadelphia speaks up about the importance of SNAP and the federal nutrition programs. In Philadelphia, almost 1 in 3 residents receive SNAP, and I think it's important to get a sense of the scale of that program. Approximately $65 million worth of food is coming into the city each month through the SNAP program. In contrast, Philabundance is distributing about $1 million worth of food into Philadelphia each month. So that just gives you a sense of how big SNAP is, and it means that even just a 10% cut would force Philabundance to double, triple, quadruple what we're doing. And I'm here to say that we just couldn't do that. So, Philabundance is working as hard as we can to find new sources of food, distribute more food, and recover food that would otherwise go to waste, but we could never grow large enough to fill that gap. Private donations will never be enough, and the government needs to play its part. So I think it's also worth mentioning that SNAP is a valuable economic buoy. Those $65 million go into our local grocery stores each month, generating jobs and profits all along the food supply chain. Even small cuts to the SNAP program would be devastating, and we need to make sure our federal legislators hear us loud and clear that Philadelphia values SNAP in the federal nutrition programs. So we encourage City Council to pass this resolution to urge our federal representatives to protect SNAP and the other federal nutrition programs from harmful cuts and structural changes that are currently being considered. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Kathy Fisher, commenting on 170735.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Fisher, and I'm the Policy Director at the Coalition Against Hunger. I thank Council members Blackwell, Taubenberger, Green, and Gim for offering this resolution and for the opportunity to provide comment this morning. I don't want to reiterate too much of what Emma just said. We're on the same page on this, on how important SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, is to Philadelphia and its residents. It provides benefits to just shy of 500,000 Philadelphians per month, and as Emma mentioned, $65 million comes to Philadelphia each month in SNAP benefits. $65 million may sound like a lot, and it is, but the breakdown is about $133 per person per month, or $4.50 per day. The fact that Congress is considering cuts to the program, a critical support that not only helps our most vulnerable, but also helps tens of millions of low-wage workers across America, is shameful. Each dollar of SNAP is estimated to generate $1.70 in economic activity. So it helps not just those receiving the benefits, but as Emma mentioned, retailers, farmers, others. The $1.70 economic multiplier equates to about, 1.6 billion in economic activity in Philadelphia in 2016. So each and every dollar of SNAP helps a family stretch its budget to afford other basics: housing, clothing, medicine, and more. SNAP has a tremendous ripple effect. We thank Council for this resolution, and we also stress that we must make sure that Congress, as it works to finalize the 2018 budget, its upcoming tax reform, its work on the Farm Bill, and everything, that we speak with one voice and engage as many people in echoing this call for no cuts. SNAP supports all of our other critical investments, city, state, and federal investments in health, in education, in housing, in workforce development, and more. Hungry people cannot thrive. A cut to SNAP is a cut to our investment in our people. And we must make sure that Congress knows these are cuts that America cannot afford. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Commenting on 170735, Deborah Bussel and Robert Burge.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of Resolution 170735. My name is Deb Bensel, and I'm the Associate Director of Community Food Systems at the Food Trust, a Philadelphia-based nonprofit organization working around the country to ensure everyone has access to nutritious, affordable food and information to make healthy decisions. SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, plays a critical role in reducing hunger and poverty, supports child and adult health, and drives our local economy. A disproportionate number of Philadelphians experience food insecurity, diet-related disease, and lack consistent access to healthy foods in their neighborhoods. SNAP is our first line of defense against hunger, and it helps families purchase the groceries they need, supports sound nutrition for child development and education, and quality of life and health for adults. SNAP is important to our business community as well. Grocery stores, especially those located in lower income neighborhoods, depend on SNAP dollars to keep their doors open, and in turn, these stores provide access to nutritious foods. The economic impact of SNAP to the Commonwealth is undeniable. In Pennsylvania, $2.5 billion in SNAP benefits were spent at grocery stores, farmers markets, and other food retailers. Further, research from USDA shows that every $5 in SNAP benefits generates $9 of economic activity. Cuts to SNAP on the federal level will leave families hungry, make Philadelphians more vulnerable to diet-related disease, and will negatively impact farmers, grocery stores, corner stores, and bodegas. At the Food Trust, we also believe that to have the greatest impact, it takes a comprehensive approach that includes improving access, providing nutrition education, and utilizing SNAP incentives. Our team of nutrition educators and dietitians implement innovative and engaging programming through SNAP Ed, which is also slated for cuts. And this program teaches children and adults how to eat healthy, how to cook, and how to shop on a budget. We also operate a network of 20 farmers markets throughout the city, all of which accept SNAP, Farmers Market Nutrition Program checks, and Philly Food Bucks, a program that's being replicated across the state thanks to the Federal Food and Security Nutrition Incentive Program, making these lower income neighborhood farmers markets more accessible to shoppers and more revenue generating for farmers, and thus more sustainable in the long term. As Congress prepares to reauthorize the Farm Bill, which authorizes and provides appropriations for programs like SNAP, SNAP Incentives, SNAP Ed, FMNP, and the Healthy Food Financing Initiative, it's critical that these programs are protected and strengthened. From both a health and business perspective, Philadelphia cannot afford cuts to SNAP and these important programs. We know that SNAP works, increasing access to healthier foods and supporting local businesses like grocery stores and farmers markets. We applaud the city of Philadelphia for elevating this issue and for resisting the proposed federal spending cuts. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony.
My name's Bob Birch. I am a SNAP benefit person, and I really don't know where I would get I get $90 a month from SNAP, and I don't know where that would come from, because taking that out of what little money I get from the federal government, and it would take away from other things that I need. So I thank the councilman for sponsoring that. And I also thank, a little side note, thank to Curtis about that bill about gun violence in the city. That's important to us, because I just had a friend killed in Atlanta from a gun violence about 6 months ago. And it's important. Thank you, brother, for that. Also, I want to say thank you to Phil Abundance, because we couldn't do it without you either. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Joe Danahill, commenting on 170731.
There's a lot more bills other than that, sir. You want to read them all?
170732, 170733, 170744, 170750, 170758, 170761, and 170762, 170763, and 160720.
Thank you. All those bills have to deal with property transfer. Now, this is an official decree of the people, writ mandamus quo warranto, and as such requires immediate action and remedy. Every week, this council and mayor transfers private property to the government, probably illegally. In my case, the denial of due process, trial by jury, and theft of my home, sold to me by a self-identified HUD agent, demands swift prosecution to leave no doubt that we are a republic governed by the rule of law, not by the elected monarchy. Paraphrase quotes from patriots and founding fathers warned us of times like these. From Adams, all men would be tyrants if they could. Jefferson, the two enemies of the people are criminals and government, so let's tie down the government with the chains of Constitution so that the government will not become the legalized version of the criminals. Ben Franklin Patrick Henry noted that the Bill of Rights and constitutions were designed to protect the people,
by restraining the government. In my case, constitutional laws have been violated multiple times in the city that celebrates itself as the birthplace of the Constitution. The Revolutionary War veterans and patriots buried in this city cry out from their graves for prosecution of officials that act like tyrants and violate the Constitution laws. The Constitutions require immediate remedy of this breach of law. Your oath of office requires you to act or face prison. 42 U.S.C. 1982, 1983, 1985, 1986, 1987, 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, 2381, 2384, PA Constitution, Article 1, Sections 1 through 11, 26 PA CSA, 703, 705, 708, 709, 712, 713, 716, and other laws listed in SCOTUS 158965, 141330, 144056 appear violated. I call upon the federal and Commonwealth governments to perform their constitutional obligations, to investigate and prosecute all involved in the theft and illegal deed transfer of my home, 1038 West Wyoming, the denial of God-given 42 U.S.C. 1982 property rights for 23 years is egregious, extraordinary, oath-violating, and requires immediate remedy. A just government must obey the rule of law. This color of law government must have its charter to govern revoked until a constitutionally compliant government is installed. Public servants cannot refuse their sworn duty to act any more than a fireman can refuse to fight a fire. The sovereign people require the Constitution and laws be enforced. Jail is required for all who violate oath or law. It takes a lot of cooperation to create and allow monumental corruption.
Thank you for your testimony.
Movita Johnson Harrell.
Good morning. First,
Morning.
I would like to thank our Councilman Kenyatta Johnson for introducing this resolution to declare homicide a national health epidemic. I'd like to thank our Councilman Curtis Jones Jr. and Dorothy Johnson Spite of Mothers in Charge, Moms Demand Action, and the National Justice Homicide Alliance for being on the front line of this fight for survivors of homicide and to make sure that this egregious act does not continue to happen to the constituents of Philadelphia and across this nation. I am Movita Johnson Harrell, and I am the founder of the Charles Foundation. Charles is an acronym for Creating Healthy Alternatives Results in Less Emotional Suffering. My foundation was created in April of 2011, exactly 3 months after the death of my 18-year-old son, Charles Andre Johnson, who was murdered in a case of mistaken identity here in Philadelphia. This should not happen to families in our communities. Our children are getting a hold of illegal guns. They are not properly educated, and we know that there are systemic blocks to helping them to progress in our city. So we stand with City Council. We implore you to pass this resolution so that the necessary funds can come into the system to make sure that these homicides are reduced and hopefully eliminated in our lifetime. Yesterday would have been my son's 25th birthday. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
There are no other speakers on the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Due to council-related business, I must leave early, and I would like to be recorded as an aye on all bills and resolutions, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair also recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too need to leave early for some other business and wish to be recorded as voting aye on all bills and resolutions.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Nobody else can leave, okay? All right. Thank you, Councilwoman. We're now going to consider today's resolution consent agenda. I will ask Mr. Decker to plead to read the titles of all the resolutions on the consent agenda. After each title is read, any member may object to the inclusion of the resolution on the resolution consent agenda. Upon such an objection, and without debate, the resolution will be immediately removed from the resolution consent agenda and placed on today's regular final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, will you now read the titles of the resolutions on the consent agenda?
Resolution number 170730, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 46th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170731, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 27th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170732, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 51st Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170733, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 6th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170734, entitled a resolution expressing support for House Bill 922 and Senate Bill 1156, currently pending in the United States Congress, with the hope that such legislation will be able to increase private investment in the rehabilitation of public school buildings for the benefit of Philadelphia children. And resolution number 170736, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of certain properties located in the 5th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 170737, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of certain properties located in the 5th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 170738, entitled a resolution authorizing an agreement between the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority and the city for the PRA to act as the city's agent for the redevelopment of 400 North Broad Street and 1501 North Callahill Street. And resolution number 170739, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of certain properties located in the 5th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 170744, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 36th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170745, entitled a resolution also naming Tasker Street between South 20th Street and South 21st Street as James A. Lovett Way in honor and recognition of his ongoing leadership of the Tasker Street Baptist Church and his service to the surrounding community and the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170746, entitled a resolution approving the appointment of Rashia Johnson to the Philadelphia Water, Sewer, and Stormwater Rate Board. And resolution number 170750, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 19th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170758, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 45th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170761, entitled a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Germantown redevelopment area identified by house number and street address as 5820 through 5824 Germantown Avenue. And resolution number 170762, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 12th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170763, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 12th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170767, entitled a resolution requesting the President of the United States and the United States Congress to enact legislation allowing deferred action for childhood arrivals, DACA program recipients to remain permanently in the United States by March 2018. And resolution number 170768, entitled a resolution recognizing September 2017 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Philadelphia in honor of childhood cancer patients, caregivers, survivors, and those children who have succumbed to the disease, and urging the United States House of Representatives and United States Senate to pass House Resolution 820 and Senate Bill 292, both entitled Childhood Cancer Survivorship, Treatment, Access, and Research Act of 2017, or the Childhood Cancer STAR Act.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for a motion to adopt each of the resolutions on the consent agenda?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the adoption of each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that each of the resolutions on the consent agenda be adopted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and each of the resolutions on the consent agenda has been adopted. We will now consider the bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, would you please read the title of, I believe it's 170595A.
An ordinance regulating the direction of movement of traffic on Westmoreland Street between Lawrence Street to Fifth Street.
Thank you. This bill has been heard on two separate occasions. Question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker is voting aye. Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown is voting aye. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. I'm sorry, 16-0. Councilman Dime is not in today. And the bill passes. Mr. Decker, you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution authorizing Philadelphia City Council's Special Committee on Student Loan Debt to investigate the impact of student debt on achieving first-time homeownership in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilman
Into the resolution.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution declaring October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, introduced by Councilman Greenlee.
Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Rhonda Willingham, president and founder of Men's Fit, for aiding in the employment of thousands of men across the city, and for hosting the annual Philadelphia City Council Who Wore It Best fashion show, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
May I speak on this for a second before we go to vote?
Absolutely.
I just want you to know that we live in a land of democracy, and, you know, elections of all types have to be fair. I want to just state for the record again, Councilman Green won last year, Who Wore It Best, and I wanted to recount, we never got it, but we're going to move on, just like we did with the presidential election. We want to just move on. But this year, we are also, it's my understanding, inviting the female members of council to participate in this worthwhile effort to raise money for men returning into society, going to jobs to get their first wardrobe and outfit. So we're going to add some diversity, hopefully some transparency, and raise some money as well. Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Rebuttal from Councilman Green.
Point of information, I believe Councilman Jones is still looking for hanging chads in that election, which are not available.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, I missed that one.
I'm moving for the adoption at this point.
Can I get a second? It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is enthusiastically adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring the Philadelphia Folk Song Society on their 60th anniversary of preserving the expression of folk music, and for their recent move to the Roxborough community, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing Wanda Stewart for overcoming extreme poverty to achieve literacy at age 46 and only a year later become a published author, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing Monday, September 25, 2017, the National Day of Remembrance for Murder Victims in Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing gun violence as a public health epidemic in Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing Philadelphia Infant, Toddler, Early Intervention and Child Link Day in the city of Philadelphia and celebrating the 25th anniversary of Child Link, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. Are there any speeches on behalf of the minority? Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. I just have some notices, and then I'd just like to just provide some information about a little more serious issue. The three notices, first, I've put on every council person's desk a flyer about the Green Beret fundraiser we're having on October the 6th for the Green Beret Foundation with Governor Rendell, Speaker of the House Mike Turzai, and the former Undersecretary of the Army, former Congressman Pat Murphy, also Danny Swift Garcia, World Boxing Champion, International DJ Casper, and others. For any filmmakers, if you're looking to learn how to finance, produce, and distribute your film, and I just find more and more young people interested in making their films, we have an event at Community College. It's free, open to the public, Thursday, September the 28th, 6 to 8 p.m. And then finally, you'll have until September 30th to enter PHL Live Center Stage, Coors Light PHL Live Center Stage. Simply go to www.phlive.org, and if you are selected, you'll perform live and possibly win $1,000 free studio recording time and other good prizes. On a kind of a serious note, I'd just like to say that I have come across a kind of an interesting situation, and I appreciate the fact that I'll be meeting with our district attorney, Kelly Hodge, tomorrow. And I'm not sure where this is in the rest of the city, but a couple left for vacation. It's a pastor and his wife. They have a church, and when they returned to Philadelphia, they went to check up on the church's building. It's just a residence where normally a pastor would live. They have their own home, and there was someone in the house. They didn't rent it. There's no lease, anything like that. So they called the police because the locks were changed and everything, and to make a long story short, they were advised to file in landlord-tenant court. I would say this: landlord-tenant court is for landlords and tenants. You need a lease. If you go file in landlord-tenant court and you don't have a lease, which you wouldn't have if someone broke into your house, you cannot have a case. And it's been 2.5 months. I spoke with the district police captain who assured me that the patrol officer contacted the district attorney's office charging unit and wanted to proceed by arresting the person in the home. The person said she was online and through Craigslist contacted someone, and she's legitimately renting the house. Okay, where are you paying rent? Where's your lease? If you're innocent, understood, but it's not your house, you have to leave. She has not left that house in 2.5 months. We have called almost every day for 2.5 months for the police to make an arrest at this point in time to remove the person. They have broken water valves and other things in his house. I don't understand for the life of me how it could take 2.5 months. This is not a tenant. This is a criminal. If they're not a criminal at the beginning, they sure are now. How come the people of this city cannot get a simple thing done, like getting someone who broke into their home removed from it? They have to pay the water. The water's been cut off, and this is a pastor of a church. I really can't understand it. I have sent letters. I've made phone calls. You know, I think the police have done their part. What happened at DA's office, I don't know. But if people continue to be told you have to go to landlord-tenant court to remove a criminal, that is absolutely incorrect. If there's anyone out there who's facing a similar situation, please let me know. I know there's people very sympathetic about housing. This is not about housing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. I actually got a couple of those calls in my office, so I will refer them to you, sir. Thank you. Speeches on behalf of the majority. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Taubenberger.
Because I sit here in the back row, I am a member of the minority here.
That's my fault, sir. You're new, that's why you're in the back
I'm
row.
a freshman. I understand. I'm new around here. I get it. I wanted to speak about something else, but actually Councilman O raises a very good point and something that is really a problematic situation on squatters in Philadelphia homes. Over the summer, I was involved in 3 different events in Northeast Philadelphia. And he is correct in there is some really problematic bureaucratic mess that allows people to stay there. It isn't right. They come almost like a perfect crime. They come with a fake lease. The police officers cannot make a judgment on the spot about whether that lease is accurate or not. But the rules and regulations are so bureaucratic to get someone out. I truly believe it takes a long, long time. We were fortunate in the situations that I was involved with. It moved a little quicker. But the fact is that the average citizen has no idea or understanding how our bureaucracy works. And to be very blunt about it, I'm not so clear myself either. So I'd like to get to the bottom of this, and I think this is something we ought to, as a body, take a very strong look at. It is a big, big problem.
Thank you. Hold on. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
That the only reason the one moved quicker was because the owner paid $1,000 for them to leave.
Wow.
And that is correct, Councilman. Thank you for, and that has been offered really many, many times in situations as well. It is not reported. They call it cash for keys. And if a certain price is reached, in this case it was $1,000, in other cases it's higher, then the process moves quicker because they may then move out. But it is a crime and that is really wide, I wouldn't say widespread, but it's moving quickly. And it's something that is a danger to our city and actually adds to a degree of lawlessness if people disregard other people's property rights in the sense of their home, the very thing that they own. So I think Councilman O is absolutely correct, and it is time this body take a look at it.
We'll get our tech staff on it immediately.
I did want to invite everyone to an event coming up with Dr. Christine Benz. This is being sponsored by the German-American Chamber of Commerce in Philadelphia, as well as the Committee on Germany, also centered in Philadelphia, and that is the German Apprentice Program. They're going to have a meeting, well, 2 things. We're having a meeting in City Hall as well, but on Monday, September the 25th, between 5:30 and 7:30 at the Great Hall of the Community College, there will be a discussion by her on the German apprenticeship program, and it is something I think, being America's largest, poorest city, we must take a look at so our workforce is ready and able to be involved in the jobs that are awaiting them. So I think this is something we as a city council and as a city need to take a very closer look at. The German Chamber of Commerce and the German government is very much involved in helping us with the start of this program. We should take a look at it, and I thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank all of my colleagues who've reached out to me over the last 48 hours with the situation in Puerto Rico and the Caribbean. I want to remind folks that even before Hurricane Irma and Maria, the irony, Puerto Rico was already in crisis. We were in a financial debt that had taken us there due to a lot of United States bad tax policy. We had a colonial status and a financial control board. So we were already suffering. We want to join the 150,000 Puerto Ricans in the Philadelphia area, many who are still waiting to hear from their families. But after these national disasters, Puerto Rico is in ruins. 100% of the folks have no electricity or running water. We have billions in damages, a closed airport for the next week. Only the military will be allowed in. And we are months, if not years, away from totally restoring basic city municipal services. Puerto Rico and the other Caribbean islands really do need our help. Locally, Unidos for PA, we're taking advantage of the already scheduled Puerto Rican Week activities to highlight the tragedy, and to raise money. I know many people called on the cancellation of events. We really believe people at this particular time want to rally together, and what better way to do it? We are committed to toning down the events, but also building some consciousness about the fact that Puerto Rico is going to need us for a long time. So I want to acknowledge all the local elected officials. I know Mayor Kenny and Governor Wolf will be joining us in some public declarations and offering support. I want to acknowledge AT&T that on Sunday will be donating at 800 number, and the ability for us to do a telethon during our parade and post-parade events. So if you have time on Sunday, I know Councilman Greenlee and Councilman O always join us, Greenlee, I said Greenlee, at our donors reception. We've put the information on folks' desks. We'd be happy to have you there. Concilio, who hosts the parade, is serving as our fiscal agent, and 100% of the proceeds are going to go to Puerto Rico. The Salvation Army and our good Reverend Bonnie are advising us on our efforts. They have 20 staging areas in Puerto Rico. We will be looking to work with them when the airport opens up, and we will be recruiting volunteers for the Red Cross and the Salvation Army, who can give us a couple of weeks to help in the restoration effort. Even Councilwoman Tasco called me last night and immediately said, you need to have hearings on global warming and the impacts around the country, so she gave me the work to do as part of this effort, and I'll talk to Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown about that, and what are we doing about getting our preparedness around the country for these natural disasters. I have not heard from all of my family. Some of them I've been able to communicate with What's Up through the What's Up application. All of the cell phone towers are down. I don't know what my little house will look like at the end of this, but I will be joining all of the relief efforts and traveling to Puerto Rico soon to see firsthand. But I want to thank everybody who has expressed, their concern and willingness to help. So if you have time, come join us on Sunday as we begin what will be a long, long rebuilding of Puerto Rico. So thank you all.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Sure, we'll give whatever support we can. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, to our colleague and friend, Councilwoman Marie Quinona Sanchez, our hearts, our prayers, and our thoughts are with you and your family, and support all the efforts where we can possibly make a difference in your endeavors to start the rebuild, and it needs to start somewhere. So, we're thinking of you during these times. On a lighter note, on behalf of City Commissioner Lisa Deely, who I happen to be friends with for a few years, and worked together as colleagues and worked together on a lot of initiatives, is now the highest ranking elected official female in the city of Philadelphia, citywide. She's leading for the second year in a row the recognition of National Voter Registration Day, which is going to be on Tuesday. So on her behalf and Commissioner Al Schmidt, it's a privilege to ask everybody to participate next week on Tuesday, September 26, this year, 2017. Last year, they had mock elections. I was a part of it, and educating our kids on the electoral process, why we vote, how you vote. I mean, just a simple, this is a voting machine. This is why we vote. So they have expanded their efforts on National Voter Registration Day to 23 voter registration locations throughout the city of Philadelphia and to 13 mock elections. And I have to tell you, the enthusiasm on our youth as they participated in the process was encouraging, right? Because I know, as we have seen in the past, voter turnout is low, and it's important for some of the issues and some of the things that we support here in legislation as a policy body, to have people participate in this process. So I want to thank Commissioner Deely and Al Schmidt as they lead again another day in recognizing the National Voter Registration Day and in encouraging all colleagues to participate where they can, especially in districts who are having these mock elections. I'm sure the commissioners are going to be reaching out to everybody, but it's all good stuff. It's about education and reminding people of the importance of our ability to come out and vote for issues that affect our quality of life every day. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Excuse me. Thank you, Council President. Just a couple of small, brief announcements. First and foremost, also, I do want to show support for my colleague, Councilwoman Maria Carolina Sanchez, as I have privately, but most importantly, publicly, for the state of Puerto Rico and also for the recovery of all those who live there, also who have, all of them who have family members here in the city of Philadelphia. And so I wanted to acknowledge that. Two, I want to acknowledge and say happy Rosh Hashanah to all of those who are celebrating the Jewish New Year today. And last but not least, Council President, under your leadership in establishing the Special Committee on Gun Violence, we continue to move forward aggressively advocating and making sure that we address the issue of gun violence here in the city of Philadelphia. And I think today was a great step forward to really highlight the health component when you talk about the issue of gun violence. When we look at the post-traumatic stress that some of our young people are going through in the city of Philadelphia as a result of the gun violence and the shooting that's taking place in their neighborhoods, we want to rise and take this issue to a whole different level. We should never go into a public school or any school and ask a classroom full of young people, how many of you ever seen someone shot and or murdered, and everyone or half of the class or the majority of kids in the classroom raise their hand? When we go through neighborhoods and we talk to young men and young ladies who have lost a loved one or friends to a sense of senseless gun violence, how are they coping with that loss? Most of the time you have a type of negative response, retaliation, or I don't, get down with those individuals who pull the trigger. And so, we're really in a health crisis. And so we'll continue to advocate and move forward. I'd like to thank the people from the subcommittee on victims advocacy who came today and showed their support for that particular resolution put forth by Dorothy Johnson Spike. So I just want to personally just thank you for stepping up to the plate, being part of this process, and also to Councilman Curtis Jones as well. Thank you very much.
Councilman, thank you, and thank you for your great leadership and your continued push to make sure that this does not make its way to the back page. It continues to stay on the front page. I want to commend you for being consistent on that. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with all and associate myself with all the resolutions we dealt with today. We want to bring special greetings to our colleague, Councilwoman Maria Canone Sanchez. We mentioned last week some of the islands who have been affected by these tornadoes, and the Mayor's Commissioner, African and Caribbean Immigrant Affairs and Echoes of Africa. We're dealing with so many of those, as all of you know. Some islands have been made rubble, or 90% thereof. So we will continue to do what we can, pray for folks, work with them as well as we can, and thank all of you for your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. With that concludes our speeches, and the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the council stay adjourned until Thursday, September 28th, 2017 at 10 a.m.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the council stand adjourned until Thursday, September 28, 2017, 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Thank you all very much.